So one of the things that this industry lacks is the rigor on data, and technology allows today for hyper-personalization, reaching out to more number of people, and I think those are initiatives we are trying to drive. The mindset is about having a Lego block, and if we are not good at something, our job is to also be very candid enough to say, we will need an outside help. So you don't need to go for that. We will go and pick up who's the best guy in the industry. And I think you're seeing what's happening in the generative AI world. My fundamental belief is that it's going to alter everybody's life. Can we make sure that Lighthouse Canton is ready to have an AI first mindset? The path we want to take is that we really need to leave a legacy behind and create a great business out of Lighthouse Canton.
When you started off, like you mentioned, the space was dominated mostly by banks, and then you came out and you created this niche of sorts, and kept your focus on a certain path in a business, and that's wealth management, among other things. But still, it was dominated by some of these big guys. How did you differentiate yourself?
The first thing is, I think we don't have to go out and, make a lot of noise of differentiating day one, because it's very hard to justify that day one for anybody to say, oh, how are you different? I guess your work starts talking, then it's the sum total of all the small things that you put together. For example, we talk about one-stop shop. It's a very cliched thing, but to say that when you come, the biggest challenge for most people is that they have problems. The problem can be solving for returns. So you might say, you're looking for cash flow, you're looking for returns, you're looking for safety of money, or you can have very different objective. So that's one set of an issue. Your second set of issues can be you have aspirations to buy a house in London, a house in the US. A third set of problem could be by saying that, listen, I have this business which always needs money and I need to plug money from here, or can I kind of arrange something else? Fourth can be cross-border issues, right? Like I have a multinational family. My children are in US, I'm in Singapore, or I'm in Dubai. How do I structure? Now, all these problems, these people were going to 3 or 4 different set of people, right? And everybody had their own objectives to achieve, and nobody is looking at the whole picture together. So that's what we started to bring together. So if you go to a bank, they will probably be very good at solving your problem number one of returns and portfolio, but probably may have no idea of how to, put together something for a house or a family member who's living in a different country. So we looked at all of this together and said, okay, this is a way to solve their problems, which means obviously we had to be very bespoke, which means we had to be very, tailored solutions for people, which comes with its own set of problems, because if you're scaling, then that meant we had to go for bigger clients, and we also had to go for fewer clients, because we could not do this for too many people. And as we moved into the years ahead, then we also said, okay, now while we've done this, what are the other differentiating factors? I think quality of people is a differentiating factor, which is, obviously something everybody talks about, but how do you make sure that it's sustainable? Brand is a differentiating factor, but it cannot be built overnight. So you have to do all series of things. What we are doing today, I think we're trying to be very data driven. We're trying to see, I've been part of this industry. We've seen what are the things that work well, what are not working well. So one of the things that this industry lacks is the rigor on data, and technology allows today for hyper-personalization, reaching out to more number of people. And I think those are initiatives we are trying to drive. And I think we just need to listen to our clients, right? And be aligned with them. So as you understand, big chunk of problem for most businesses is the alignment of interests. There are a lot of conflicts in the businesses, right? And you're trying to maximize revenues. The client's trying to maximize returns. How do you make sure you marry them, right? And that's a huge problem that takes place out there, because if a company is trying to maximize revenue, it will happen probably at an expense of returns that get impacted. So if you can marry the two, and if you can bring alignment together, I think you don't have to watch. And I think this is something again, this is an idea that one of the days I was reading a Charlie Munger book. It basically said that if you have to align incentives to objectives, that's the best way for you to make sure that people stay true to course. So we've tried to align the incentives to the objectives that we want to achieve for the long run.
Your idea and the concept of having this one-stop shop, as we call it, to put it very simplistic, it's a great concept. I mean, for a client, from a client perspective, it's great. But for somebody who has to offer these services, it means you basically have to be a master of all, not even a jack of all. You have to be a master of all. You're dealing with such complicated transactions and such complicated goals and objectives. How did you manage to build a team that can cater to this hyper personalization?
So first thing is, I think we thought like, the Lego blocks, right? So we started building our Lego blocks. So we started building specialization and, for somebody who understood estate duty and legacy planning. And not only we ensured that they were specialists, but we also made sure that everybody within the team is able to learn from them so that they have a working knowledge of it. They may not be expert. We have an expert team, then there is a working knowledge. Then we picked up an investment team which was very focused, and within the investment team we figured out each vertical, whether it's equities, fixed income, hedge funds, other alternatives. And so we made specialists in each of them. So these are like all our Lego blocks. And then we looked at, somebody who's very good at fundraising, and we kind of looked at that as a separate team. Then we found people on the asset management side and each strategies that we looked at. So we started, and I think that process is not over. It's still continuing, right? The mindset is about having a Lego block. And if we are not good at something, our job is to also be very candid enough to say, we will need an outside help. So you don't need to go for that. We will go and pick up who's the best guy in the industry. So if you don't have something, you don't have to, as a client, worry about it. It's our job to go out and find, if it's somebody from a McKinsey or a KPMG to a PwC to a, BCG, who is the right fit for solving this problem. We'll go and figure that out. Right. So to that extent, for you, then the life becomes very simple that, you don't have to go to 10 different doors to knock and figure out a solution.
Do you think it's easy to build another LC today by any competing individual?
See, if you're willing to give the time and effort and, there's always the issue is always about how much hard work you're willing to put in. There are no shortcuts here. It just is, you have to be battle hardened. You have to take time. There are 10,000 things you need to build within an organization. We call muscle memory, training, learning, connecting the right dots, counterparty relationships. It's a global franchise. We are in 4 countries right now. These are not 4 cities. These are 4 countries, right? Within India, we are about 6 cities right now. That takes time. Can it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. We'll not be the first and the last one. There will be people, who will do probably better or probably, come out with a different version of this. So yeah, of course it can be built.
Shilpi, as a part of your own upskilling and your own learning process, you mentioned how you sacrificed on a couple of things, but that of course meant that you were constantly learning something new. Sure. So what was a part of that learning something new process?
Yeah, one is there's a curiosity. Obviously, if you don't know something, you go and try and figure out what are the best sources out there from whom you will learn, whether it's people, whether it's, text out there, or whether it's books out there, right? And books been a big part of my journey. So if I think that there is a gap in my understanding and I need inspiration, I would go and try and figure out who would have done similar things in the past and go and learn from them. So if I have to learn on investments, I would try and learn from reading a Warren Buffett, essays or, books on investing. And I think there are people that you kind of get inspired by. And I think one guy that I always have followed is Charlie Munger. And Charlie Munger's one thing was that, if there's one thing you can do in this world is to read and read and read. And if you can read as much as you can, probably, so that's something that I try and do as much as I can get.
Any favorite books or even courses for that matter that have really stayed with you?
Yeah, OPM is great. I think there are a lot of people who can talk to you about that. And I think I was very reluctant to do that because I thought these are all business people who may not be willing to learn and just have fun there. And I wanted to do serious learning. And then when I went there, I think I saw all kind of people. They were very serious people who were learning and very focused, but also made some really great connections who now are very good sounding boards where you can go back and, talk to them and learn from them. And on books, I continue to kind of read new stuff. And obviously once in a while you come across something which just blows the mind off. But there are a few books which have obviously stayed with me. One is I really enjoyed a book called Mindset, which I thought was very good for me to think about children more than anything else, right? Because it really talked about growth mindset, and I just thought, and I did speak to my children a lot about that book. Another book which I think which I really liked, which first time hit me, was the Homo Sapiens, which was a very well written book, and I followed through all the other books written by him after that. And there are so many others that I can go on and on. I mean, too many out there. And I also kind of pick people who I think will enjoy a relevant book, right? So if somebody is from an HR, I would probably recommend reading a book which comes from the founders of Netflix, right? So No Rules Rules. So that's a very interesting play on how they've run their HR businesses. Or a John Doerr book, which is on OKRs, and so it's a great book for HR person. But if I were to go to somebody in finance, probably it'll be a very different book that I will probably recommend to them. And so I like to read quite diverse.
Do you have a book recommendation for somebody in media?
Yeah, I've been reading, I recommended Himanshu a book who's head of marketing. And it was the New Rules of PR and Marketing.
Okay, I'll make a note of that then. In that case, so you're basically the go-to guy for any book recommendations.
Not really. There are too many people out there who are far better. But it's just that I'm a little curious, so I have more books to read than I can ever. But I keep buying them.
I think this is. I'm glad that you're setting the example of this whole excuse that people have that, where is the time to find books? So I guess if the group CEO of Lighthouse Canton has the time to read books, you definitely, do have the time. Let's talk about the next 10 years then. I mean, what's done is done. You've had your share of great days and good days, like you mentioned it. And for the rest of them, you've had lessons that you've learned, you've implemented and, progressed from. Let's talk about the next 10 years for LC.
Yeah, so I think right now, if you ask me, it's a 2-year at a time kind of a mindset that while we want to have a 10-year journey ahead of us, I think it's important to live. If you live well today, your chances of doing what you want to do tomorrow will just brighten up, right? Or odds just go in your favor. So it's very critical that we live through the next 1 or 2 years exactly what we want to do and be on that journey. It's a guiding light, the 10 years. We already have a 10x mindset, which we've set ourselves out for. These are ambitious goals, and I think we would love to walk the path on those ambitious goals. But the key element is right now to be very focused for the next 1 or 2 years. Make sure that we deliver the next 2 years. And that's what we've done in the last 2 years, by the way. My focus was that can I deliver the last 2 years well for me to kind of go to the next 2 years. So when we were in 22, we said, if I deliver 23 and 24 well, then 25 and 26 will happen. And now we are saying if 25 and 26 will be delivered well, then 27 and 28. But by the way, we know where we are heading. That's the most important part. So if you don't know where you're heading, then that's a problem. So big picture, think big. No question about it. Very focused on using technology to be a support function. I think you've seen what's happening in the generative AI world. My fundamental belief is that it's going to alter everybody's life. It's going to have an impact in every field, no matter where you are. And can we bring more productivity, more efficiency? Can we make sure that Lighthouse Canton is ready to have an AI first mindset? So that when the technology comes and impacts businesses and jobs, our people are ready to use the technology to further their goals rather than get caught up in or taken away by those, or the job. Yeah, absolutely. So disruption is going to come. So those are things that we're doing. But I think the most important element is, as a team, we got to stay together, because what has gotten us this far obviously will not get us to the next 10, right? But having said that, this team has gotten us this far, and I think the chances are that if we stay together, we remain aligned, I think this team can then accelerate and achieve even more.
And as you enter your 10th year and move beyond, you, of course, with this mindset, you have a new branding as well. 10 years strong, 10x ahead. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I think you would have, data-wise heard of this story that, most of the companies fail within 5 years, and then probably very few make it to the 10 years. So if a business makes it to a 10 year, then I think it's the first milestone to say, okay, I think you've done something right. And it's important to tell everybody out there that, yeah, we're a 10-year strong organization, and we're a strong organization which has done 10 years, and I think we're leading to success. And so the internal communication and the external communication both had to be done, where internally we were telling people that, listen, we've done a great 10 year. Thank you so much. We've come here. But what got us into the first 10 year probably is not going to take us to the next 10 years. So we need to shift gears, right? And there comes a point, it's a fork in the road for any organization. We could have chosen to stay a very boutique-ish firm and small, and our objectives would have been very different. Or we would have said to ourselves that let's hyperscale, let's go to the next level, and that decisions would have been very different, right? And so it was very important for a group and our core team to come together and believe where all of us wanted to go. So I wanted to make sure there is a shared vision, and it's not a vision just which is my vision. I could have an influence, but I just still wanted everybody to believe in that vision. So we got together and said, the path we want to take is that we really need to leave a legacy behind. We need, for all of us, and create a great business out of Lighthouse Canton. So for us, the path is to kind of go and create a 10x business from here. And mostly, you will realize the effort to take a business from X to 2X or from an X to 10X is not too very different. It's just the mindset which is very different. You approach the problem differently. You look at things very differently. You start ignoring smaller issues and look at bigger things. And I think that's what we're trying to do now. And we've set ourselves a goal. Actually, it's a 2030 goal, which is the first landmark we want to achieve. And everybody is very, very committed and geared towards it. And we are using this opportunity of 10 years to rejuvenate and, reinvigorate everybody so that everybody, brings that energy to that goal.
What would you advise young entrepreneurs, somebody who comes up with a business plan to you, let's say today or tomorrow? What would you advise them, and what would you make them wary of as well?
Yeah, I think my advice to them is that, first of all, this is a long journey. And make sure that you don't do it because others are doing it. You do it because you believe in the cause and you think you can make a difference. Follow your passion, follow your dream. This is about long haul. So think like a marathon. Don't think like a 100-meter sprint. This is not about getting rich fast. This is about creating value. And if you create value, then, I guess the results would be that you probably will also get rich. But if you think of getting rich and making money, probably you'll not achieve either of the causes.
All right. Well, I think this has been one of the realest and the most unfiltered conversations that we've had on Lighthouse Canton Ideas podcast series. Shilpi, thanks so much for sharing not just the wins, because it's always lovely to talk about the success that you've had, but also the failures and the losses. And in a way, you've legitimized those failures that people don't like to talk about. So thank you so much for doing that, Shilpi.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And for all of those who are listening, remember that success is not as clean as it looks. It's not a straight line. It is topsy-turvy. So keep building, keep innovating. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening in to the Lighthouse Canton Ideas podcast. We hope you found this conversation insightful. Subscribe and tune in for more episodes. This podcast has been prepared by Lighthouse Canton for informational purposes only. There is nothing contained in this podcast that constitutes advisory services. This podcast does not constitute an advice to invest in any specific investment or investment class, vehicle, or financial instrument. You should consult a professional advisor to obtain specific advice regarding the financial, legal, regulatory, tax, and other regulations that may be applicable to you. You should consult a financial advisor authorized in your jurisdiction before making any investment decision to fully understand the products and associated risks.